Okay, to get started, we are going to make a slimline card base. And that slimline card base measures 9 1/4 inches by 8 inches and then folded. So then it's 9 1/4 inches by 4. And then we have, I went ahead and made 2 card bases in case there's a mistake. And these measure 8 3/4 by 3 1/2. So we are going to use these, the Maymay Made It Chores Can Wait stamp set and the Chef Vinnie stamp set, also by Maymay Made It. I'm going to be inking with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I am going to use alcohol markers. And when you're using alcohol markers, Tuxedo Black or Memento will not bleed or blend in with your color. And also key to this project is Brutus Monroe masking paper. So I'll show you that. And the most important part of this for me was creating a kind of a draft. So I went ahead and did a beta of this card. Of course, you can see this is a different side card base, but I have kind of laid out what I want where, and that kind of helps me to line up and figure out what I want to stamp first, and then so that I can protect that so other things can stamp over it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my card base here, lay it out on this slimline card front, and see what it might look like with the help of my beta. The most important part of masking is figuring out what is in the foreground. Whatever is in front is something that you are going to stamp and see the entire image, so you want to do that first. And as we add a couple different layers to this card, you can see how that comes together. For instance, you see this bowl we want to be in front of the rest of the platter. So we'll stamp the bowl first, and then we want the arm to be in front of the sink. So we'll stamp the arm and the person before we stamp the sink. So the bowl, this liquid container, and this stack of dishes here are the first 3 things that I'm going to stamp, and then I'm going to also stamp them on the masking paper to create the masks. So I'm trying to get some good light so you can see that I kind of laid out these 2 stamps. Of course, they're on top of each other, so I can't stamp them like that. But that is essentially where I want those 2 to go. And what I'm looking at is I have the bowl and the containers and the stack of dishes here that I want to stamp in these areas. So if you are so inclined, take a pencil and kind of outline where you want those to be. And that way, because we're going to stamp them first, and you'll know kind of where they want or where you want to line them up. So I'm not sure that you can see that, but I have some pencil marks on my paper as a guide to where I am going to fit the bowl, which I have here. He'll be right in that area. And I'm going to grab my small block or my small Fiskars stamp. Okay, so I've taken out a piece of my Brutus Monroe masking paper, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp the bowl on that as well, because we're going to fussy cut that out in a minute. And let's see here. I don't even know if that's in the shot. No, it's right off screen, of course. So there's that. You can see that's on the masking paper. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other stack of dishes and the container. Okay, trying to find where my lines are. About right here. Oh, sorry. That looks great. And then I'll go ahead and stamp this on the masking paper as well. You don't have to have a great image on the masking paper, just so you can see and be able to cut it out. And we're going to do the same thing for this stack of dishes, lining it up with the pencil line that I created, which is kind of off to the side of where the sink is, so right about there. And that might be a little crooked. We'll see how it looks at the end. Ink it up again, stamp it on the masking paper. Off screen, because that's what I do. Okay. So I decided that since I am going to be fussy cutting out a bunch of things, I might as well stamp it all on one sheet of masking paper and fussy cut it up at the same time. So I'm doing Chef Vinnie on the masking paper, and it does seem a little out of order since I haven't stamped him on the card yet, but we'll get there. That's good. Perfect. So here are my fussy cuts of the dishes and some glare. I didn't do a perfect job of fussy cutting. They are small and a little complicated, but where there were solid spoon handles, I just cut those off because those are solid black lines. So if another line intersects through them, they'll be fine. And then you can see that for this one, I just kind of cut around the area that we'll be stamping over. In theory, he's going to be here, and then the sink will be in this area. So really, I'm not worried about having to cover or having to protect anything that's in this area, so I didn't cut it away. Okay, so far the most difficult part of this entire thing was getting the backing paper off of the masking paper. Most masking paper does have a cross cut on the backing so that it's easy to peel off. Of course, when you have smaller things, if you have some, you know, kind of pre-planning, you could really just stamp them across the front so you know where the cross cut is. But I didn't do that, so I just picked at them for a long time. And so now I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to adhere them to the stamped card front and get to stamping. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to stamp Vinnie. So I'm going to keep... I don't know why I feel like I'm over inking, but that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to put him, well, let's see, I probably should have lined him up on the block better, but I'm going to put him right about here. Really, I don't know why I'm trying so hard. I think it's ready. So that looks great. That's exactly what I wanted. I'm gonna wipe this off real quick. And we're gonna get Vinnie covered up. There's no cross cut on the back, so I'm just gonna pick at it. All right, there he is. And let's get him adhered down here. And as close as I can. And now I'm going to go ahead and lay down this stamp before I ink it. Kind of see where it's going to end up here. It should be in the back a bit, so it should be a little up a little further than this image, because it looks like he's presenting a sink of dishes that's behind him. So I think that looks great. If I can get that. Now, don't forget that these two are also covered up by the masks. I'm going to get the stamp evened up here, get it inked up. All right, here we go. I think right about here. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Okay, now for the moment of truth. You can see that things are a little wonky in this universe. They're not exactly straight, but that's okay. And so now I'm going to peel up the masking paper and see what the image looks like. All right, let's see. Let's see how we did. I think it looks pretty good. Now I could have, you know, did some math or some geometry and had this kind of sitting all, you know, even across. But so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a small, I was getting the ink everywhere. So I think I'm just going to put one of these right here. Probably another one. Right here. Where? Here. And maybe one coming out of this soup bowl. Like this. There we go. Oops. Ooh, extreme close-up. So now I am going to go ahead and color this image in. Because I used Memento Tuxedo Black ink, I'm going to go ahead and use my alcohol markers and get that all colored up. Okay, I went ahead and colored this image with some alcohol markers. I'm not great at alcohol markering, but so I just kind of laid it down and blended it in as best as I could, and there you go. You'll see I have a lot of room over here, so I'm going to cut out a sentiment or a strip of paper to put a sentiment. And before I do that, I am going to use this piece of paper, which is from the Cartabella Summer Market collection, and make a mat for this image. And so the mat that I'm going to cut is going to be 9 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So I had originally anticipated using a just for you sentiment on this card, but I was going through some of the other stamp sets that I have, and Maymay has a tag set that includes the sentiment, I made this for you, pretend you're impressed. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that a couple times. First I'm going to cut out a couple circles because I think I want a little kind of dimension here, and I will cut either from this paper or probably from both and stamp it on both and then decide what I like. This is the remainder of the matte piece that we had for back here. Okay, I'm ready to get my card layered up. I'm going to use some art glitter glue today, and I am going to just get started here. This probably looks like a ton of glue, but it's not. Just need a little bit of glue, and then art glitter glue dries pretty quickly. You have just a second to kind of wiggle it into place, and I try to, when I remember, take my bone folder, burnish it down. That way if there are any clumps of glue, it just kind of flattens them out. All right, ready for this one. Same with this guy. Just got a second to even it out. Oh, I need a tire. There we go. It might be crooked, but that's okay. All right, so there's that one. Do the same thing, just kind of burnish it down with my bone folder. And now for the sentiment. Now, I kind of like this plain one, or the one with the plain yellow paper. Also kind of like this one though. I made this for you. Pretend you're impressed is just the greatest kind of sentiment for this card, because it really is showcasing that I made you a mess of dishes to clean up. Thank you. Did you think I was done? Because I thought I was done. But I decided it needed a little something more, so I was going to do sequins, but then I kind of like this. I made a couple of pieces of ribbon tail kind of paper, and I'm going to, because we have this popped up on foam, I can just lay this under there and see how it looks. I feel like it gives that kind of ribbon like award feel too. Let's see, look at this. And these guys can overlap. Yep, I really like it. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna glue them down. So this particular card uses 3 different Maymay stamp sets. This sentiment is from Tag It. from Chef Vinnie and from Chores Can Wait. And all of that information will be in the description box below. And I will link to the blog post for maymaymade.com.